Hello, everyone. This is Mo, and this is our user-centric design course episode number 5. In today's episode, we're going to cover the final part of our course, which is the case study. This part of the course will basically be the application of everything we've studied so far. Everything we've covered in the past 4 episodes, we're going to be applying today on a real product that we've designed in Sun Product Design. This product is one of the good complex projects that we've worked on. It has a lot of different aspects. It has the human aspect or the user aspect. It has a technological aspect. It has a good engineering problem for solving. So it's a mix of everything that I liked about product design. It's not only an aesthetic piece. It's not only an engineering piece. It's not only an abstract user study piece. So it has basically everything working together. So let's start the journey, and I think it's going to be super exciting for you. But first of all, we need to discuss a couple of ground rules, if you will, at the beginning, or a disclaimer. So what I'm going to share right now is a copyright of Sun Product Design, obviously. So this project we worked on in 2018 for a client of ours. So we are bound to our CDA firm client agreement with our client Seven Senses. So I'm not going to reveal too much of the exact engineering of that product or the insides of that product. However, I'm going to take you through the journey of the development of how we reach that final product. So with that, I think it's a fair game between we're not revealing too much of the final design, but as well we're giving you the flavor of the essence of the product design journey. So another thing that I would like to emphasize, and I cannot emphasize enough, this is a collective team effort. So it's not only me, it's me as a part of a bigger team of designers. And I'm going to mention the designers' names and credits in the references. So please take a look at those very creative individuals' names. And I thank them, and you should thank them after this video is over as well. Okay, so the UCD case study is about a car vending machine, and as we call them in SAN, we have an abbreviation for every of our products. So something regarding the filing and technical documentation filing system, where we abbreviate every product into 3 words, and these become 3 letters. So in this case, it's CVM, or car vending machine. So we start off the design process with the design brief, right? And again, as I promised before, we're going to have a separate kind of a series or mini series about the design process. So the UCD course is not the design process. It's the underlying kind of soul of the design process, but the design process with the exact steps of how to achieve a certain proper product design, I'm going to cover in a second or another mini series for you guys, and you're going to love it. I'm pretty sure if you're as enthusiastic about product design as I am, you're going to love it, because this is the kind of the distillation of years of experience and working on different and multiple projects. So back to the game, or back to the case study. Here you have the product objectives, which is part of our I.1 the design process, which is basically the design brief. So what are we trying to achieve is a vending machine to serve shared car commuters. So shared car commuters here is like services, and again, like Uber, like Kareem in the Middle East. I'm not sure whether it's international or not, but it's definitely a regional, good, strong player in the shared car commuting business. And the purpose of that product was to create a vending machine that goes into a sedan vehicle. That's it. That's more or less it, right? So again, with that, you could imagine the amount of obstacles that already came to play once we decided on that design brief. But again, from a UCD standpoint, to focus on what we've studied so far is what are the target user and customer, or user slash customer. And in this case, who are the direct users and the indirect users. And here you could see very easily from that kind of snip slide is that the direct user will be the commuter. So basically the males and the females. And again, based on our survey studies. And here again, this is a very good usage of surveys. So if you are developing such a product, you need first to confirm your client's assumptions, right? If the client comes and say, hey, you developed that product for ages from 5 to like, I don't know, 80, you could say like, okay, sounds fair. I'm going to put a pin on that, but I'm going to study that. I'm going to survey that first. You do not want to go ahead and assume that everybody's going to use your product and widen your direct user base and design something for everyone while the actual user group is like this big. Because this big, you cannot have the focus of this big. So you want to make sure that you have a focused user group. That focused user group is your key to success. If you're focused, you're gonna deliver an awesome product. If you're too wide, too broad, you might miss serving the real user group. And again, this is just a side note, but like really take it with the seriousness I'm trying to emphasize here. So again, our age group was 16 to 50, and this was the result of the survey. And the classes BA is basically the classes that are segmenting the market in Egypt. And again, as you could see from the age group, that this is something we need to kind of focus on. This is the direct user. The indirect user in this case were the refillers of that vending machine. Any vending machine, part of the business model, Shared, was that it would be refilled by the driver themselves. So the vending machine will not be restocked by a central hub or anything, but it will be restocked by the driver themselves. And in this case, this same product became, okay, I need to make it easy enough to use by the commuters, the people that are riding Uber and Careem, and another indirect user emerge, which is basically the driver, which is the one required to do all of the connections, installation, and the refilling in that particular case. And again, we're just saying here refillers, but eventually the model progressed to make, again, we were so good in designing the product that we eventually made it easy enough for any average driver to install in their vehicle, which is something, again, we are very proud of as we speak. The last but not least is, and again, this is a very subtle indirect user, which is the supplier, right? The supplier of the food and beverages and wholesalers that we're going to provide us with the actual product. And here, this is very interesting, right? The reason why this is an indirect user is because the actual product comes into different sizes, right? Either it comes with a single individual, chocolate bar, or sometimes it's a wholesale, like there are 4 or 5 of those in one stack. So we had to understand as well, we had to study the supplier in this case, or what type of products will go into that vending machine. And here we dubbed it as suppliers, food and beverage snacks suppliers. Again, out of these two, the ones important, very important for the design of the product from a UCD standpoint were the direct user, commuters, and indirect users, which are the Uber and Careem drivers or the sedan car driver. Again, age in this case, 18 to 50. So we developed for those, again, personas. These personas were filled in the same table we discussed before, and I'm not gonna repeat everything we discussed in the past 4 episodes, but you're gonna need to fill these direct users. Who is the target in this case, and what does this particular user look like? What is their name, their needs, their demographics? They sit in the front, they sit in the back. In the Egyptian market, for example, most females sit in the back. So it's a cultural thing. It might not be very internationally comprehensible, if you will, but it's very known, and this is a fact in Egypt, right? So females will sit in the back. Some males will sit in the front, and some males will sit in the back, depending on the class, age group as well. So like if it's a more senior citizen, they will sit in the back. If they're like more young, etc., they might prefer to sit in the front. If they have car sickness, for example, they will sit in the front. They will not sit in the back, and so on. And the typical car driver, what is the average education? What is their name, background, nationality? Where did they typically come from? Like, are like around the Cairo, greater Cairo region, or they come from the other like kind of cities or villages, etc. Because all of these give you an insight of whom are you dealing with. Are you dealing with somebody super educated? So I don't know, like maybe a technician level of a driver, or like you're talking about, no, like this is somebody with probably a high school education, or maybe primary education, and that's it, right? Again, and this is not to do anything except to personify, if you will, that particular user, to put an understanding on who's that user and put it in a persona. So you later on understand how to address the design needs for that particular user. And in this case, the keyword is interviews. You do interviews. You sit with these people. You commute with them. Some of our designers actually went ahead and took many Uber drives and many Korean drives and sat in the back, sat in the front, talked with the driver, talked with some other kind of people from the survey group in order to get to that persona and kind of hone it really to the details that we required. The other thing was to understand the innovation adoption life cycle, which is in this case who, like the refillers or the drivers, have an incentive from a business model standpoint, so it's not that very difficult to convince them to install, etc. But the direct users mainly came from the early adopters, like a kind of user group. And this is very interesting because this is not that big of a user group, right? So you need to understand that, and you need to comprehend that in your design. They're mostly that age group, but the type of, even if like the person is 45 or 50, they are still from that type of people that will be more enthusiastic to try new things, etc. So again, more between the early adopters and maybe on the verge of early majority as well. So the people that are sitting or hitting this line. Again, if you could see my mouse. Okay, so that is from a product objectives and user group standpoint, right? So with that, we can move easily to the physical product abilities and limitations, right? And here you could understand, again, there are many things that we discuss and we design, like what we had in the design journey, but the most important thing for me, again, in the context of the UCD, is the user accessibility. So we studied a lot of things regarding product, display, lineup, UI, UX, machine installation, position, size, refilling techniques, machine stability, machine consumption from a power standpoint, all good things. We could definitely talk about them in a more detailed session about that particular project. But the one that is really spot on from a UCD standpoint is the user accessibility, which is the distance between the machine and the passenger, and the slot dimensions that the goods or the snacks we're gonna lie in. And here you could see very easily, once we understood the problem, we took it basically to the anthropometrics table, the one that we discussed last episode 4, and you could see that we have the abilities and the limitations, but tied as well with the comfort. Remember, we said, can I design for the extreme, or should I design for the extreme? Should I design for the average? Should I design for the lower extreme, upper extreme, and so on? And here, basically, we visited some of those anthropometric tables, and we checked a couple those relevant anthropometric diagrams, the ones, again, the two main things that we wanted or we needed was the the arm length, which is basically the distance between the person sitting in the car reaching out to the vending machine. It shouldn't exceed a certain dimension. And the second would be the actual size of the hand. Again, it has to fit into the compartment for that picking to happen. If we're gonna go at this point in time, we didn't know. This is why I'm saying if we wanted to have the what we called the fixed compartment design, which is basically the compartment is like a small box where the snack is inside and just opens, so you reach in and you take the snack. There is another design which is more commonly used with the bigger machines, where basically you have the items displayed, then there's a robotic arm or a robotic spiral that pushes the goods and it vents through one common vent. We eventually had we did the compartment design, not the common vent design. But for that particular study, we considered both, because at this point in time, we didn't know which one we're going to really proceed with, right? So basically, the two anthropometrics we had was this, what were these two. And here, actually, you could see in some of those pictures, one of the designers testing a couple of mock-ups. Again, mock-ups here are keyword of paper mock-ups that she built, and she's using both anthropometrics in that particular position, which is the person in the middle trying to reach out for the can in the middle picture, like of that common vent design, or the compartment design on the left. Okay, so with that, we established that we have, again, a 5th percentile female, 95th percentile male. We need to accommodate both, which is in this case the reach of the arm was the 5th percentile female, because that's the one that is the shortest arm. And the hand size, we considered the 95th male, i.e. the biggest hand. So we took basically both, and we designed for the extreme in both scenarios. And if somebody's going to ask, basically the arm reach is one parameter of the design, which is not conflicting with the hand size, which is a good coincidence in this case. Sometimes it's not, which we could discuss when we discuss something like this when we reach it, and I will tell you how to dodge that situation when we reach that. So once we did that, we had a couple of things to figure out as well during the design journey, which was the number of touches, i.e. how many touches between a first-time user and for a first-time user to get a snack out of that vending machine. And we defined that as 5 touches. In this case, there was an app involved. So there is like download the app, register name, blah, blah, blah. And there is like select item, or scan item, select item, and take and consume item. So these are 5 steps. And for a regular user, i.e. the user that actually used that service before, it will be only 3 steps. I think eventually we shaved one of these steps off. I think step number 3 eventually came out, and it was just selecting the item on the app and then consume. So I think we reached like 4 and 2 at the end. But again, for the case of that, I think at this stage in time, we didn't know that. And we were actually discussing some of the non-physical limitations, like the average ride duration. So with that commuter have enough time to do all of these 4 steps or 5 steps, and with that average commuter actually be hungry enough to consume something during that period and all of that. So this was another limitation. It's not a physical limitation because it's not anthropometric, but it's still a physical limitation because you are physically in front of the machine. I don't know, less than 15 minutes in the case of brown, 15 to 30 minutes in the case of yellow, and 30 to 60 minutes in case of green. And more than that is actually the 3%. Sorry, I think the orange was the 7%. But you got the idea. And here we had to understand the differences in the affordances and signifiers, because you need to make it super simple. If you're really wishing to address the 3, 7 percent group, which is the one sitting in the car less than 7%, which is the one sitting in the car less than 15 minutes. You need to make it super simple, easy to comprehend, and the signifiers need to be like easy to read, right? You do not want a device that is clunky, that like it's not giving you the right signifier, like it's not giving the right feedback, all of these things, right? So these are super important. So the fun part, I think, for the designers, like they're like, I know like now you're itching to see some concepts. So I think this was one of our early concepts where we were mounting the actual vending machine to the head rest of the car. So see like the figure on the top here, this one. And we were basically doing a mock-up with key shot here of 4 individuals, as if the car is actually fully filled with people, or actually at maximum capacity. Where again, this is one of the things that came in the Uber interviews or the Kareem interviews, that usually they do not do more than 3 people in the ride. So usually they like you're like, because we're like the knee space at this point was a concern, a major concern actually, for that design, because that case you will be basically killing that seat. Like nobody will be able to sit in that seat, right? So when we were discussing that, when we were talking about that particular concept, while it was very convenient for everyone, and again from a space standpoint, this held 14 items, 4 water bottles, 5 Pepsi or Coke or sodas, and 5 chocolates. And in this case, this was not bad from a number of items standpoint. It was not bad, and it gave us as well the capability to mount either on one head rest or both. And it was doubling as a nice screen for the driver that like felt like this is giving them more of a personal space, and again as well for the user. But one of the major concerns, as I said, was the knee space in this particular spot or seat. Concept number 2 was again another good winner, and or another good like kind of shortlisted concept, if you will, where we had 29 items, and this was kind of the common vending port I was talking about. So here we stacked chocolates, cans, and bottles, and this was the size of the bottle that was actually gonna go into the design. And we were discussing very simply how to make it work. Of course, you see the super cool evolution of concept to render, and the render, of course, here, since we were the knee space in that particular position was the concern, we mimicked that, and it actually solved the issue, or solved the dilemma of the knee space with that design. Another concept, which is concept 3, was between drivers. Again, given the fact that this might not be used, and we were discussing why not actually use it and leave everything else as is. And here, like, the installation will be as easy as mounting it through the couch, or through one of the mounting points of the couch itself. And this was again another cool concepts, which put the number of items to 30. If you go back to the previous slide, it's like 29. So 30 and 29 are compatible. And but this looked a little bit too conventional, not very aesthetic, and again a little bit intrusive, because this person was not very happy with the shoulder space, I guess, if I recall correctly. This was kind of like a limo, fully blown concept, where we said like, okay, like if we really want to optimize for maximizing the number of items, why not make a one fully blown design where it goes from the again, losing the middle spot, of course, would be starting from here, going until there, and it will have all of the space that you need, and it might double as something that you could put in a limo like design, with like the aesthetics and the flashiness of that particular concept is one of the things that you typically see in like these fancy vehicles, right? And again, it held a decent amount of products, a decent amount of items, as we call them, and this was concept number 4. Again, I will not review every single concept we created, but the purpose of me showing you concepts 1 through 4 was to tell you that after we did all of the fancy aesthetics like renders, modeling, all of the mock-ups, all of these things, you need to go back to the UCD board and say, hey, did you address the criteria points that you wanted, which are in this case excuse me, one of the things was the safety of the safety of the user, right, and safety of the people in the car. And again, if you go ahead, like, you're gonna see that there is a criteria, there is a point. So safety is one of them. Size, in the fact that it's the least obtrusive, like obstructive to the vehicle space, right? Because you do not want that obstruction, and it shouldn't be that intrusive. It shouldn't be that you feel it's there, right? So we wanted the size to be good enough for a vending, but not so big that you feel like you have an additional person in the car, right? So this is one of the things that the drivers actually gave the feedback to. The backseat obstruction, which was, again, you feel that it's there in the backseat. So be it from the shoulder space standpoint, if you're sitting in the front and it's in the middle, it will be on the left of the driver in this case. Or if you're sitting in the back and the model number 3, for example, it was basically on the right and the left of both the passengers. Fixation, it should be easy. Whether it's a vending access port or it's an actual individual doors. This was as well a very good point. And the number of items was, of course, in the play. So what we've done here again is a very like kind of option analysis type of exercise where we put all of the concepts. And again, they're like, we had more than 13 concepts or 14 concepts there. These are kind of the shortlisted only. We did 1 through 4, and again, not all of these points are equal in the weight, right? So what we've done basically is we've put the weight for the parameter or for the point, like safety definitely was one of the highest, so like 40% weight, and you need to add up all to be 100, obviously. I mean the weight column, and for every one of those you do a scoring to 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest of safety and 5 being the highest of safety and size, 2 being the not so good space-wise, and 4 being the very good space-wise. Or you got the gist of it, right? So it's basically you're trying to quantify your concepts, because one of the things that you'll always face as a designer is trying to apply these theoretical, abstract, from the book kind of theories to real life. And in order to do that, you need to, of course, have a good process that makes you remember to check these things. That's one thing. But the other very important thing would be that you need to have this methodology of quantifying anything that is not by nature quantifiable. So this table is acting like that. But again, you need to remember there is kind of the quantification, which is giving you numbers, but as well there is your intuition as the designer. And it's always the fight between these two, like good and evil, if you will. Most designers want to flow with the intuition, which is very good, but sometimes the intuition is not good enough, or you need to help your intuition with some numbers, and this table was exactly for that. So as you can see, concepts 2 and 3 were one of the highest scoring. Shall I just go ahead and say concept 3 it is? No, we did not do that. We just went ahead and we started doing the mock-ups, right? So the mock-ups, here you will see just something to give you an idea how big it is, how obstructive it is, and how it's good or bad. As you can see here, like the shoulder issue became so clear that you are not really happy while you're sitting. And second, the user here is not very happy as well about the fact, okay, how are we going to reach to the vended piece or item, right? It's not easy, right? You could see the guy sitting and he's reaching out with his left hand through the center to pick it up. Like this is like not comfortable. This is really not comfortable. The obstruction, this was the mirror obstruction, and I hope I hit the face as well, but I think one of my bubbles moved a little bit, so apologies, guys. I try to protect your privacy as much as I can. So if there is a lot of fan ladies after this, like it's up to you. I cannot help you. So here you could see like the obstruction of the mirror was not an issue, right? So this is good in that design. So you're not really obstructing the mirror of the driver. So again, do your metric calculations, weigh your concepts, but afterwards, don't forget, you're still a designer. Use your intuition, and the best way to engage your full senses is to put a mock-up and just try it out. And this is exactly what they did. They put here a mock-up and they put one empty water bottle and they tried, because it's paper, so we just wanted the things to be a little bit light and everything. So this is how it's going to be look like close. And the guys did an amazing job, like kind of cutting out the door as if it opens, etc. So I think this is a very good way to go. Again, to mock up the design, or to what we call in sand the form prototype, or looks like prototype. Both are used interchangeably in sand. So, and the second was concept number 2, right? So concept number 2, again, they really went overboard with the details here, and again, but it doesn't need to be that detailed, right? So if you, a simple rectangular box would have sufficed, I think. But if you really want to engage all of your senses and you feel this will help you, just go ahead and do it. So they modeled the entire thing out of, again, they took the CAD model, they went ahead and they cut everything, they glued everything together, and they even mimicked the window and how it's going to look like, and the compartment where things will be. And this is basically how it's going to look like. And I think it's very good. I think one of the feedback that we felt, or like we got from this, was the fact that we're not really like not obstructive here. I think we're very obstructive here, so we had to scale everything down. I think we went with the number of items with that as well, but it gave us the indication, right? You would have never, only from the, even with the key shot or with the render simulation, you wouldn't have reached that same position or same conclusion, right? So again, with this one, we decided that this kind of, again, final analysis, or like two or three, we started did a pass fail, and what would need further in kind of further enhancements, further additions. And I think they passed from everything, and I think the concept number 3 like lost in the slot axis. Slot axis was not very intuitive, and it requires leaning forward, which is a fundamental mistake in the concept, right? So you cannot fix it in the same concept. You have to do something else. And the other one was the obstruction, which was in concept 2, which required further scaling down, as I mentioned earlier. So that being said, we again, fast forward a few months, fast forward a few iterations, fast forward a few design changes, client changes, business requirement changes. We moved the design from being again a single common venting port at the bottom, to individual doors that all like that each open with a certain with a singular relay. And as you can see here, and here let me spend some time. This is how it looks like at the end. It's not obstructive. It's not hitting your knee. It has some space here for additional future improvements. And I wanted to share this at the beginning, but I wanted to keep like, but I said let's keep it until the end. And this vending machine is actually refrigerated. Yes, it is refrigerated because one of the things that we came to realize in the engineering journey that chocolates and beverages will become like chocolates will melt and beverages will become super hot during the hot Egyptian summers. So in order for this to be a success, we had to integrate a refrigeration system. And this took us some good iterations to make everything fit in that back space, and to run all of the coils and to run all of the refrigeration piping through all of these compartments, making sure that we have a good heat distribution. And we measured actually with thermometers every single one of those ports, and it was very interesting. Like of a project, as I said at the beginning, it was not easy. It was an engineering challenge from every single aspect, from a user aspect, from fitting things into a very small space, from making it looking nice and not kind of monstrous, I would say, and being like kind of evaporating or dissolving in the background of the cars. One of the things as well that we realized is that most of those Uber and Kareem cars have like a dark interior, i.e. black or a dark gray. So we went with black in the design, final design, with the option of painting it in white colors for the other cars, because again, this is not a mass production. This will be sheet metal design, so it will be painted per job or per production. Yeah, and again, another thing on the UCD, or from a UCD standpoint, while we were discussing a lot about different affordances, signifiers, mapping, and feedback, the final design was basically super simple. You download the app, you scan the actual vending machine QR code. It gives you the number of items you see in front of you on the screen, and you basically click on the one that you want, which resonates exactly one-to-one to the one on the screen. And actually, you see here, I think somebody put a cough medicine in one of the compartments to use it. I think that's a nice Easter egg, if you will. And once you click on that compartment, the entire vending machine that is like lights up, and the exact one that you selected starts blinking and opens the door. So you could see definitely the signifier, the affordances. The affordances are on the app. So this affords clicking is on the app, and signifier like saying that this is the item, and this is resonating with that mapping. And once you click, the feedback happens with the flashing and actually opens up. And I think this is it, or this is the final prototype that was delivered to the client. Hopefully a happy client. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to share for today. This is our UCD case study, and this was our user-centric design journey of a course. This concludes our course of UCD, and I hope we'll be able to have a good interactive commentary section in the and like to understand any missing things I didn't capture or didn't tackle very well, or if you have further questions about any of the principles or the case study questions. And before I do that, and conclude, definitely I would reiterate that this is a copyright for Sand Product Design. All of the material, all of the concepts, even the ones that are not used in production at the end, these are our copyright. The client is our Seven Senses client, a very good and collaborative client that we have enjoyed working with very much. The car vending machine project design team, very important, and some of the faces you've seen in the missing and again misplaced bubbles are Mina Samir, Mohamed ElSharawy, Caroline Amgad, and Amr Abdurrahman. Very good team, very strong team, and we delivered very good product, I think, in a very challenging as well time frame, with tons and tons of changes and iterations we've done together. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.